This is Joe Delio from the live community, bringing you the Getting Started, I've Unpacked My Device Now What video that explains how to initially configure your Palo Alto Networks firewall. Tom has graciously put together this detailed video on exactly what you need to do. Without further ado, I'll hand you off to Tom now.
Hi, this is Tom at the Palo Alto Networks community team. This is the first episode of our Getting Started guide. I've unpacked my firewall, now what? We're going to take a look at which options are available to connect to the firewall's management for the first time, how we can set up licenses, how we can download software and content, and how we can prepare our security policy for the first time. Before we can get started, we'll first need to connect our management station to the firewall. There are two options available. The first is the management port, which is going to use a normal IP address for configuration, or we can use a DB9 to Ethernet console cable to connect to the console port. If we move over to my workstation, we'll take a look at how we can connect. If we open up PuTTY and select serial, you'll see we get a login prompt where we can log in using the default username and password admin. From here we can go into configuration mode and add configuration to set the IP address of this device. But I'll show you how to do that through the web interface, which is a little easier. We'll first need to change the IP address of our workstation, because the firewall is going to have a factory IP address of 192.168.1.1. We need to set our interface to match that IP range so we can connect to the interface. We'll take .2. The subnet mask doesn't really matter. We don't need a DNS right now. Just go ahead, okay. Okay. And if we now open up a browser, HTTPS 192.168.1.1. We'll first get a certificate warning message because the SSL connection to the web interface has been signed by a self-signed certificate. So your browser is going to pop up a little complaint, which you can safely ignore because you know that the device is safe. You've just unpacked it, so there's no need to worry. Again, we're gonna log in with admin. You'll see that there's a little warning telling you that the device still has a default username and password, so it's advisable to change that later. And now we're on the dashboard. From here, we're going to go to the Device tab, access the Setup, and then in the Management Interface settings, we're going to change 192.168 to an appropriate IP address in my network. So in my case, that's going to be 10.0.0.5, so that mask is fine. The default gateway for my network is going to be 10.0.0.1. This may be a little different than yours, so take note. I'm going to click OK. Then we're going to go to Services, where we are going to add a DNS server, 4.2.2.2 for example. And then we are going to commit this configuration and change the IP address. While this is committing, we're going to change the IP address of our workstation, because as soon as the commit is finished, the IP address of the firewall is going to be changed as well, so we will need to connect to a new IP address. I'm going to go back here, back to my interface. We're going to change this 10.0.0.4 for example. We can still use our console connection from earlier to take a look at the commit status. Show jobs all, and we'll see that the commit is nearly done at 99%. Commit is finished. So now we're going to go over here in our browser, and we're going to connect to the new IP address. We get that same error message from earlier because this is now a new IP address we're connecting to. I'm going to log in again. And now we're ready for the next step. First thing we're going to do is activate the licenses. So we navigate to the device tab. We're going to scroll down to the licenses. And now here you have several options available. You can either manually upload a license key. You can activate a feature by using an authorization code that you've received from your sales contact, or you can retrieve licenses from the licensing server. If you've activated your firewall and activated all your licenses through the support portal, the only thing you'll need to do here is retrieve licenses, and the device will go out and fetch everything it needs. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Okay, so now my device has all its licenses, and we can proceed to update the content and the software. First thing we're going to do is go to dynamic updates. You'll see that there's not much in here. So first thing we'll need to do is get a new list of available content that we can use to update the system with. Once this has been fetched, we're going to go ahead and download the content package. And once this is downloaded, we can go ahead and install it. Once the very first apps and threads package is installed, you might see an error message that the previous content package couldn't be saved, which is because the previous content package is the factory one. So this doesn't really matter that much. The next one should have no problems at all. Once this is done, you can go back to the update page and check again, and now we should get an antivirus package as well. As you can see, we now have an antivirus package. We're going to go ahead and download that. And after it's been downloaded, we're going to go ahead and install it. Now this is completed, this is a good opportunity to set a schedule. Setting a schedule will ensure that your system is up to date at all times. So first we're going to set an hourly update for download and install for the antivirus, which means that every hour it's going to check if a new package is available, download it and install it. The application and threads is already set to download only every Wednesday by default. We're going to change that to a daily regimen and set that at 2 in the morning. Download and install. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and commit this. Now this is completed. The final step is to upgrade the software of the system itself. So we're going to close this. We're going to go to software. When you access the software the very first time, you'll see this message pop up. It's basically because the system has never talked to the update server that it isn't aware which software packages are available. You can go ahead and close this and do a check now. Now it's going to contact the update server and get a full list of available software that it is allowed to download. And we'll see that currently we have 7.01 installed. And the latest version available to me is 7.03. You'll notice that for me this version is already downloaded, so you might need to download that first. We're going to go ahead and install this version. And now that the software installation is complete, we're going to go ahead and reboot the firewall. After the upgrade completes, we end up on the login page. So we're going to log in again, admin. And then we're going to take a look at some security profiles. Under the Objects tab, we have our security profiles, where most of these have been preloaded with a default profile. We're going to leave these for now, but we are going to create a new URL filtering profile because the default one is not going to be logging a lot of actions. So to show what kind of logging we can get in a later series, we're going to enable logging on all URL categories so we can get a nice clean log. There's an option to set all actions to alert. This will create a log entry for each time a URL in any category is accessed. Next, we're going to take a look at the applications. If you scroll up again, we have applications. There's a full list of all the applications we can identify. Right now, there's 2,275. That's a lot of stuff we can use to build policies. We're going to be using an application filter. This is a sort of dynamic group that allows you to choose based on behavioral properties what kind of group this is going to be. So as an example, we're going to start off with a peer-to-peer file sharing group, which will contain all kinds of typically unwanted file sharing protocols you can see in an organization that we want to block. We will name it peer-to-peer, and then go to our security policies and create a new rule. Where the source is going to be our trust zone. The destination zone is going to be the untrust, which will be the outside. The application, we're going to take our peer-to-peer group. The easiest way to find this is by typing the name. And then in the actions, we're going to set the action to deny. We need to make sure that the peer-to-peer rule is stationed above our original rule 1, because else peer-to-peer applications might not get blocked. The security policy is processed top to bottom, so the first rule that matches will be used. If the rule 1 had remained at the top, which is an allow any rule, there's no application, there's no filtering for anything, it just allows all traffic through, we won't be blocking anything. To shed a little light on the trust and untrust zones, we can go to the Network tab. We can see that there are currently 2 interfaces configured as virtual wire. The virtual wire functions as a bump in the wire. So there's no configuration needed. There's no layer 3, there's no IP addresses, there's no VLAN tags, nothing. We only need to make sure that the interfaces are connected to your network. The interface 1 is currently configured as the untrust interface, and interface 2 is currently your trust interface, which means that interface 1 should get connected to your router or your upstream routing device, and your interface 2 should be connected to your switch where all your hosts are located. This will make sure that our security policy makes sense, because any connections coming from your hosts going out to the internet will come from trust and will go to untrust, and anything coming in from the internet will come from zone untrust going to your trust zone. The last part we're going to be doing is we're going to go back to the security policies. We're going to open rule 1, which is currently an open security policy, which is going to allow everything. There's no applications and no services configured, so it's going to allow everything. But we are going to enable some security profiles, so all your outbound connections are secured. We're going to be taking all the default profiles we saw earlier, except for URL filtering, where we're going to take our custom profile so that we can see URL filtering logs at a later stage. Once this is done, go ahead and commit. And now you're ready to start using your firewall. Go ahead and connect your router to the untrust interface and your switch to the trust interface. Now your network topology should look like this. Interface 1 connected to the router, interface 2 connected to the switch, and your management interface also connected to your switch.
Thank you so much, Tom, for that great explanation about how to initially configure Palo Alto Networks firewall. Hopefully everyone was able to learn something great from that. And we encourage everyone to visit the live community, participate in the discussions, and read all the great blogs that we have posted there. Thanks again for watching. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you're notified about all the new videos that we're producing here on the live community. Thank you very much. Have a great day.